Well, hey, what's going
What's
on,
up?
everybody? It's Monday.
Yep.
And it's a movie time.
Yep.
So I see that some of you are very glad that we finally got around to doing
They're in
this
the
movie.
comment section talking about it already.
Yeah, I had like this big, huge list of like stuff I was going to do. And I said, you know what? I kind of feel like we need to watch Hider in the House. So we paid $3.99 to like watch it on Amazon
On
Prime.
Amazon, yeah.
Because I had never actually seen it. This was one of those movies that I feel like a lot of people have talked about it, especially recently, as being like kind of an underrated, like late 80s thriller or whatever. And it's, I couldn't remember if I'd seen it or not. So I was just like, well, we'll watch it and see if I remember anything. I did not remember it at all. So I don't think that
I'd never seen this.
Yeah, but honestly,
This is a tight flick.
it's a pretty good damn movie.
Pretty good. This may be Gary Busey's best work.
That's what Phantom said, that
Yeah,
because
it might be.
this was, I believe, the last movie that he did before his bad motorcycle wreck that fucked his brain all up.
Oh, is that what happened?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it was only like a week or two, like after
Yeah.
they finished shooting this, that he got in that motorcycle wreck where he didn't have a helmet on.
Right.
Wear a helmet.
Took
you
a
guys.
head injury.
Yeah, and he had a real bad
Hey,
bad
man,
head
fucking
injury.
the same thing happened to me.
Yeah.
Fucking took me a couple
Well,
years.
you
to
did
fucking-
have a helmet on,
I had
but
a
it
helmet.
came off.
It came off. Yeah, I didn't have it strapped.
Yeah.
That initial fucking... I was just running up the street for a second. Fucking got hit by a car. Got T-boned in an intersection.
Yeah.
I was at Fort Campbell, though, on base. Got hit by a military vehicle. Cha-ching! Yep.
Yeah,
Part of the reason why...
I mean, you were in a coma for a while, and
Yeah.
it sucked, and it took you like 2 years to get back
Yeah.
to normal. But it's
Yep.
just kind of you're normal.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd ever call
Yeah,
you
and
normal,
eventually I was able to fucking make money the honest way, suing people.
Well, yeah.
It created all this. Anyway, this is a cool flick.
I liked
I
this
think
a
this
lot.
may be Busey's best work. The writing is tight. It's standard for this kind of movie, but this is one of the first of this kind of movies of the era we're talking about, late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah, this was '89. This came
Yeah,
out.
there was a lot of movies that were like this that kind of came out, like Pacific Heights and fucking...
that was like
What was the other one by the single white female?
Single
There's
white
some
female.
kind of where they got a psycho in your house. This is a tight flick, and Gary looks good in it. He looks like Jake in it. He looks a
I
lot
can't
like...
believe how much him and his son Jake look
He
like.
looks a
exactly
lot
like.
He's in
freaky.
pretty good shape, and he looks like Jake. He's about 6 feet tall, and he's in good shape. And he does come across as physically a threat. He's a crazy motherfucker who actually kind of means well. He's a well-meaning dude, but he doesn't know how to live. He's coming out of an insane asylum, and he's
Where he's
killing
been since
people.
he was like a kid.
Since he was a little kid, yeah.
So he doesn't really know how to live in the real world.
Which Jen will give the backstory, but he killed his parents when he was a little kid because they were beating him up, burning him with cigarettes.
I
and
mean,
shit.
yeah, I can't be too mad at
Yeah.
that. I'm sorry.
So he grew up in an institution, and then when he got out, he started just living in somebody's house. And the crawl space that he built, he just stowed away inside the house that was for sale. They moved in, and he fucking felt that this was his family that he was watching. And the husband was an asshole. He got rid of the husband, and he tried to become.
Well, that was
dad.
the husband's own fault.
Yeah. You should see who the husband was fucking around on, man. It looked like Ginger Lynn back from the late 80s. That was.
I mean, I
she
just
was
saw
hot,
her
yeah.
ass. I didn't know. Well, I mean, I'm sure you would be able to recognize a woman
Oh
by
yeah,
her
yeah.
ass.
No, that was a porn body.
But I
was
cannot.
That was a late 80s Anavar inspired porn body
Well,
with
she
a lot
had
of definition.
I
in the
remember she
lines.
had kind of like the very high cut,
high cut.
like white lace panties that everybody wore in the 80s.
And she had the fucking the thighs with fucking a lot of definition and separate muscle separation in them, and that was because a lot of the porn stars of that era were on Anavar, which is a pill, anabolic steroid pill, and it gave you good physicality for women. But I think she was a porn star. I don't know. You guys could probably dig in and see who that was.
Yeah, because you didn't really see her face. You
Just
just
a
kind
few
of saw
seconds
her
of it.
ass and like
Right.
kind of because she was like in the bed. She wasn't naked or anything.
I think they hired a professional for that role.
they probably did.
Yeah, she looked pretty fresh.
Just to make
She
it.
was cut, and then he fucking makes sure that the wife finds out that he's fucking around. And then he tries to take over. It's good. It's a good premise, and he's an interesting character. He's kind of sympathetic in a way.
He is. And honestly, okay, so I didn't realize, because I knew about his motorcycle accident, but I didn't realize that it happened only like a week or two after this movie finished shooting. So I think so nowadays, like when somebody tells you the premise, Gary Busey is secretly living in your attic.
Yeah.
I mean, 100% of people will be like, yes, I want to see that movie.
Yeah.
Because of course you do.
Yeah, Jen laid it out for me. It was either this one, a fucking Charles Bronson movie, or what was the
Velvet
other
Goldmine.
Velvet Goldmine, which I've seen Velvet Goldmine.
Yeah,
That's a good
we
flick.
haven't reviewed it, but like we should do it because I really want to rewatch it.
It is a fucking trip. But when she told me about Gary Busey,
I said, it's Gary Busey living in someone's attic, and he's like, yes,
fuck we're
that's
see
the
that.
one we're watching.
I was expecting him to Busey the fuck out. He didn't, though.
See, well, that's what I was just going to say.
He plays it straight.
Is that I think that Crazy Busey, that everybody knows nowadays, because he's kind of like a meme at this point, I think that kind of happened, sadly, like after the motorcycle accident, because, you know, he got brain damage.
Yeah, well, it exaggerates your emotions.
Yeah, and you don't have they said he didn't really have any filter anymore.
Yeah,
and he
filter
right,
impulse control.
Right, like, and you had the same thing happen, like when you had like a really bad head injury too, like a motorcycle.
Yeah, that's gonna go on for about 2-3 years probably.
Yeah,
I mean, it feels like you're on a 6-pack of fucking beer always.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he was remarkably restrained in this. I mean, clearly he's still kind of a crazy person, but he didn't, and I think that made the movie better.
Yeah.
Because he was almost... Now, in the original version of the script, apparently, he was actually supposed to be even more sympathetic. Because he's kind of sympathetic in this. Like, he's been fucked over, and, like, you can kind of see where he's coming from. And some of the people that he kills, he doesn't really mean to.
Yeah.
Kind of. But, in the original version of the script, the whole thing was, he'd been abused as a kid, which they show in this. And he wanted to see what having a real family was like, which they kind of show in this too. But the premise in the original script was that he was supposed to be more like he didn't know his own strength. I guess kind of more like a Lenny from Of Mice and Men kind of situation. So maybe it was something like that.
Well, they show that early on when where he was renting the room and that guy set him off about the rent. Careful, with that, and be careful with that cigarette.
Oh, the cigarette, because he was triggered by the cigarette.
Because he'd been burned by cigarettes.
His dad
kept burning him with cigarettes. And he went off on the dude. And I thought that was a great scene. I bought it.
And then he apologized. Like, oh my God, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
And,
his acting skills are very good. This is a Busey I have never seen. Because, he's in his prime.
I mean, this
some of his real memorable roles were later, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He was still great. I'm not saying that he wasn't great later on. He was great later on too. But there's something about this particular movie. I would say he's probably in his acting and physical prime. He's very handsome in this movie for such a threatening guy. He looks good. He's crazy, but he's sympathetic, and he's not as crazy as he is in some of the other movies.
Like Ginger Dead Man.
I would think my second favorite Busey role is out of a movie called Soldier. They had fucking Kurt Russell was in it. And he plays an old soldier who's not quite real fucking down with making these replicant soldiers. That he liked the old soldiers that were replicants, not the new ones, Ones that were more like men. He was great in that. He was kind of a heroic officer type guy. He ends up getting killed, though. So I would put this one as his best movie. And I think his second best movie for me in terms of performance and character was Soldier. Great movie.
Yeah, like I said, I was actually surprised at how restrained he was in this, but still creepy and still like kind of threatening, but also kind of sympathetic. It's a very like nuanced kind of role, which I guess sort of surprised me. I have seen some of his like older stuff, but now, like I said, nowadays everybody's kind of more like Crazy Busey kind of situation. Yeah. Phantom brings up, and I wanted to bring this up too, so I'm glad you mentioned it, was that Bad Ronald influenced this film. We haven't reviewed Bad Ronald, but I reviewed it on my, I think it was either on my Scare Salon channel or over on my Flickers of Fear series, which is like in another playlist. That was like a TV movie. It's one of the best TV movies like ever made, and I think it was like from the 70s or 80s or something like that. And it was the same kind of thing with like this kid who killed a girl sort of accidentally on purpose, and then his mom like hides him out in the house like behind the walls, and then she dies, and then another family moves in, and he's still back there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So and that came out like a long time ago, and that's a great movie too. But this is kind of the same thing where basically what happens is that Gary Busey, when he's a kid, and they kind of establish this in the opening credits where, and Phantom points out that the little kid's voice at the voiceovers in the beginning where the kid's getting abused by his parents and stuff. I mean, obviously the dad's voice is Gary Busey, but the kid's voice is Jake Busey. So that was his own son, like, doing the voice. And so they don't show any of the abuse, but they just kind of, like, you know, you can hear them, like, yelling at him and smacking him around. And then, like, they show some of the pictures that he drew, like, as a kid and stuff like that. And the long and short of it is that he ends up, you know, after years and years of horrible abuse, he finally is like, fuck you guys, and burns the house down with both of his parents in it. Which, like I said, I can't be too mad at it. You know what I mean? Because they kind of sucked. So they put him in an asylum, and then he's apparently in this mental hospital for a really long time, until he's as old as Gary Busey is in this movie. And then they let him out, and he still goes to a psychiatrist, and the psychiatrist is not real confident that Gary Busey is going to have, and rightly so, is not real confident that Gary Busey is going to be able to live a normal life.
He needed to be in a halfway house for a while.
Well, that's what the psychiatrist thought that he was going to do. Like, he was going to, because he kind of been living in this flop house hotel kind of situation, but, like, he didn't pay the rent, and then, like, he kind of went off on the dude that owned it, so, like, he kind of got kicked out. And then he's like, oh, well, I'm going to move into a house. The psychiatrist thought he meant, like, a halfway house, like a boarding house, like, with other people there to, like, look out for him and stuff.
Moved into a random house.
But he moved into a random house.
Yeah.
Now,
one that was they were working on it.
We were kind of because we were kind of thinking about this. So they're building the house, like, it's almost done, and he's like walking around the neighborhood. And it's a really nice house too. It's like super fancy. It looks like really familiar. So if you guys know if it's been in another movie,
it's probably a Hollywood
like,
house.
let me know, because I was like, I know I've seen that house in at least one other movie and maybe more. But he just sees it and he's just like, oh, that gives me an idea. And I guess, because Tom was like, well, is he a contractor on that job, or did he just, like, sneak in there? I think he just snuck in. Yeah, they don't really show it.
He didn't have any money, so he wasn't working.
Right.
If he was working, he would have had money. He wouldn't have lost the first house. You know what I mean? He wouldn't have lost the flop house. So he just saw that they were working on it. He walked in like he was a contractor.
Like he was a contractor and was like, hey, what's up, you guys?
Yeah, and he built a false wall up in the attic.
In the attic, yeah.
With a secret door and everything, and then he got in behind it. And, it was a little small area, but he was living in there.
Like that show we did about Froggy. He didn't have a pot to piss in.
He only had one set of clothes at first.
He literally did not have a pot to piss in. He must have been sneaking down to use the people's bathroom.
He was eating their food.
I mean, he was sneaking down and, like, stealing beers and stuff.
Yeah.
The family must have thought there was, like, a poltergeist in there.
And he got in there by climbing up the the lattice work on the side of the house.
Which, and like I said, there are, if you want to be a stickler about it, there are some kind of plot holes in this. Like I said, how does he go to the bathroom? How does he take a shower? He climbs up the side of the house. It's like, obviously they would hear him, and they'd hear him, like, walking around in the attic.
There's a way you can do that, but you got to think fucking 19th century. You use something like a chamber pot. So he might have been pissing and crapping into something like an empty paint can, and putting the lid back on it.
And throwing it
and
out
then
the window.
And taking it out and throwing it out. That's one thing you can do.
Well, yeah. But I'm just saying, I kind of feel like, because they showed him a couple of times after the family had left for the day, like, coming down and raiding the fridge and, like, eating their Fruit Loops or whatever.
Downstairs.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But it's just like...
Use up their toilet paper?
Yeah.
He was eating
I had a whole fucking roll in here.
He was eating their food.
That's what I mean. Hey, I had, like, 5 beers in here. But because that's the thing. Like, I would notice.
He was taking their clothes, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, like, they didn't really seem to notice. Like, they noticed that a couple things were moved around. They're like, huh, that's weird. But I'd just be like, where are the... like, you open the cabinet or whatever. Where the fuck are my ho-hos? I had a whole fucking box of them in here. And now, like, it's like 3 of them are gone. But they didn't seem to notice. But, not enough to, like, do anything about. But, so, yeah. So, he moves into this room up here. Like, before the family moves in. And then the family moves in. And, of course, it's kind of a situation where... the family seems perfect on the outside, which means, you know that they're not going to be. And the wife is played by Mimi Rogers, who was in a lot of stuff, but, I told Tom, I was like, she was married to Tom Cruise. Wasn't that Tom Cruise's first wife, right? I'm pretty sure that was Tom Cruise's first wife.
I think he married her after that Days of Thunder movie. Wasn't it?
No. That was
Was it another one?
No, that was he married Nicole Kidman after that because that's I think they met on him and Nicole Kidman I think met on the set of Days of Thunder.
He was with
wasn't
her
she in that
during
too?
He was married to her during Days of Thunder then.
Oh, okay.
And I think he or had just divorced
Mimi
her.
Rogers I think was his first wife.
Okay.
Like the one you don't hear about anymore.
Right. Scientology didn't like her.
I guess not. She wasn't Scientology approved. LRH approved. I guess not. I don't know what the whole situation there was.
Yeah, don't fuck with Tom. Don't fuck with Tom.
I know.
Yeah.
And the dad is played by Michael McKean, who has been in a million things, but most people probably recognize him from This Is Spinal Tap. He was in that. But like I said, he's in a lot of those. What he in? God, he was in like a lot of those kind of fucking movies. Like other than what was that one? Wasn't he in Best in Show? That was a great.
I never saw
that. Was a great fucking movie. But yeah, so he was in that. So they got a couple kids. Their son is kind of a douche. He's kind of like 12 or something. And then they have like an adorable little girl. And of course they have a cute little dog named Rudolph or Rudy, who you know something bad's gonna happen to. And it happens like pretty much immediately.
You know that bitch is doomed.
Yeah. As soon as I saw the dog, I was like, "Oh no!"
Yeah. Jeffy sends super chat. Thank you very much, Jeffy.
Thank you, Jeffy Art. Thank you very much for the super chat. I think there are real life incidents of stuff like this. Maybe you guys should have a Wednesday show on such cases. We did actually do a show. Yeah, they call it frogging nowadays with a PH. PHROGGING.
Living in somebody else's house.
Living in someone else's house. And we did actually do a show about it. I don't remember how long ago it was, but it was...
One of the best ones was a Japanese woman living in somebody's house.
Yeah, didn't she live like just curled up in a cabinet?
Curled up in a cabinet. Nobody knew she was in there.
And then as soon as the dude left for work, and it was like a small apartment too, she would like come out and like, cause he was like, "What the fuck is going on in here?" Like he thought the shit was haunted.
Yeah.
And then like he put out a fucking camera, and this fucking woman like crawls
out of the closet,
fucking...
comes out of the cabinet.
Oh my god! And that happens like more often than you might think. Like shit, somebody could be living in our attic right now.
Yeah. No, I wouldn't know.
I was thinking that I went in my closet earlier to like to get a necklace or something like that, and I kind of looked up at the attic door. I'm like, I wonder if there's anybody up there.
There's not much room up there.
There's really not.
Yeah.
But I was well, there wasn't much room in that cabinet either.
It's hot up there. They wouldn't be. This is the South, man. They'd be dead up there.
Yeah.
It's 120 degrees in that place.
But yeah, so he moves in this house and starts becoming kind of obsessed with this family. Kind of, in a way, it kind of reminded me of, you know how Robin Williams' character, Cy Parrish, like how he became obsessed with the family, like in 1 Hour Photo?
Yeah.
Like
I was going to say that. It's kind of like 1 Hour Photo.
Yeah, like kind of like that, where he kind of got obsessed with this perfect family, who absolutely were not perfect. But,
he was fantasizing. He didn't have a family.
Right, and it's kind of like the same situation.
Like that was Robin Williams' best work. 1 Hour Photo.
Yeah, he is. I love that movie.
He fucking knocks it out of the park.
I love that movie.
Great movie. That's a classic. I don't think I own it. I should own that movie.
Yeah, we reviewed it a while back, but yeah. But yeah, if you haven't seen 1 Hour Photo, please see that. But yeah, so
movie, it upsets you.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
well, and it's weird. The same kind of thing.
His acting is great.
Because you kind of feel sorry for him too.
Yeah.
And like I said, the thing about Gary Busey's character in this, his name is Tom Sykes. Mm-hmm. Is the name of his character. Is that you feel bad for him too. Like I said, yeah, he burned his parents to death, but his parents sucked, you know what I mean? It's just kind of like, I was like, I'll allow it, you know what I mean? And he clearly did not really know how to live in the world. He still wasn't real, you know, he didn't have like a lot of life skills because he'd been in a mental hospital for pretty much all of his life. And... you know, considering, like I said, the only thing we were worried about was like, well, where did he get money from? I guess he wasn't really spending any money because he was just stealing everything
he was living
from
in the house.
But yeah, it was kind of, I don't know, that was like kind of weird. But yeah, so the thing about it, so he's living up there, and like pretty much 5 seconds into the movie, like as soon as the family moves in, like the dog goes upstairs to the attic and is like, what? Then starts barking because it's like there's somebody in there that's like not supposed to be. Like, you know, he can smell you, motherfucker. So I was like, oh, this dog's not gonna last long, is he? And yeah, like literally the second time, like the dog comes up there and starts barking. They don't show it, but you know, they just kind of show the house like from far away with like the attic light on, and then you hear like the dog yelping. And I was
the dog disappears.
I was like, God damn it!
You don't see the dog till later, fucking when they find him out in the backyard.
They dig him up in the garden.
He'd been in there.
And but yeah, so he kills the dog, and then the next person he kills is the exterminator, because the exterminator comes in there, like when the family's out, and he's like, "Oh, you got rats up in your attic." Like in this little room behind there or whatever, and he starts like spraying fucking poison in there, at which point like Gary Busey pops out and kills him.
Yeah, well, he kind of had to because he was suffocating.
Yeah.
Poison was getting on him.
Yeah. Now we never do find the exterminator's body.
He gets rid of it somehow.
He got rid of it somehow. I'm assuming he buried it because the other person that he kills, who's like a friend of the wife, Rita, who's like staying at the house, and he doesn't. Again, like he doesn't. The exterminator and the dog, he absolutely meant to kill them. Yeah. Like that wasn't an accident. He didn't mean to kill the woman, like Rita. It was, well, they got into like a struggle because he was trying to tell her a story like about why he was in the house, because he didn't know she was in there, and like he comes downstairs wearing the husband's robe and it's like, "Oh hey, yeah, I'm just here, I'm dating the wife now, and like I'm here to take care of the house," and she's like, "Fuck off," you know what I mean? She's like, she wasn't buying it. And so then they started struggling, and like, you know, he just kind of accidentally on purpose like broke her neck, you know what I mean? And but yeah, you're led to assume that he's burying, because he buried the dog in the garden.
I was watching that shit and I was like, that's actually kind of her fault, because he was trying to give a cover story to smooth the whole thing over about why he was in the house. She should have accepted that fucking cover story and just walked out of there.
I mean, if that had been me, I'd have been like, "Okay, cool, I'm gonna go."
Then you go and fucking tell the cops or whatever.
I'm gonna go.
But
and I'm gonna report your stupid ass.
She called bullshit on it face to face. So he had to kill her.
Well, don't victim blame.
I'm not victim blaming. No, that saying, victim was stupid.
But I'm just saying, don't do that.
Yeah, okay. It's a movie.
Yeah, cool.
It's
okay.
a movie. Yeah, cool. Yeah, okay. Look, I gotta go. I gotta go. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I got shit to do. I got.
Yeah. And then but she told him to his face, basically.
Yeah,
I don't believe you.
I mean, she didn't say that, but she was clearly.
Could tell. You could
she
tell.
was clearly like very like, "You're full of shit." You know what I mean? Which he was. I mean, to be fair. But so okay, so. Now, the thing about it, though, that's interesting is that so he's living upstairs with this family, and they don't know he's there. Like, the little girl sees him. Like, he's sneaking down in the middle of the night to get food out of the fridge or whatever. And the little girl, whose name is Holly, how old is she? Like 5, maybe? 5-ish? And, like, or 6. And, like, she sees him on the stairs, but she doesn't see his face or anything like that, and she's just like, oh, you know what I mean, like, oh my god, boogeyman or whatever. And like, but she goes and tells her mom, and he, you know, obviously she's just like, oh, you were just having a nightmare or whatever, even though there's totally like a real dude in your house. So they don't suspect anything. So she was the only one that saw him. And so it's kind of like, so he lives there a while, they don't hear him somehow, like he's up there all this time, and then there comes a thing where he finds out, because the house has a intercom system, and he's kind of like hacked into it, so he can hear everybody's conversations, like, you know, which is kind of handy. So he finds out through the intercom that the husband, Michael McKean, is having an affair. Like, he's banging some porn star or whatever. She's not a porn star in the context of the movie.
She's just some chick he knows.
She's just some chick he knows. They don't establish like where he met her. I'm assuming at work or whatever. I mean, I suspected he was having an affair, like, even before they revealed that, because he kept saying, oh, working late again tonight. I'm like, who? Oh, who you banging? Because that's how that goes in every movie.
When they showed that chick, that's not a chick you work with unless you work at a strip club.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, I think maybe he, like...
She don't work at the office.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. It's like, so, but they didn't say, like, where he met her, because... because looking at her, I was like, I would assume that he had hired her, but the way that the conversation he was having with his friend, because he told his friend, which is dumb, okay, but he told the friend, it's like, well, I thought it was just going to be that one time, but, you know, I kind of want to see her again, and I feel kind of bad, blah, blah, blah.
She was definitely a professional something or other.
That's what I mean.
Stripper,
so porn star,
like,
maybe he just wanted his friend not to know that he was paying for that shit. I don't know.
Yeah.
But so I guess he tells his friend, like, all the gory details, and Gary Busey overhears it, like, up in the attic. So he sets it up so that the wife... So he calls and says that he's, like, a co-worker of the husband, because the husband's always at work, right? And he's like, oh, well, your husband said that you should come to that, like, restaurant, this hotel, and meet him for lunch, like, it's a surprise or whatever. And she's like, oh, that's so sweet, like, how romantic, or whatever. And then she goes there, and then he leaves this note that it's like, hey, go to this room. So I guess Gary Busey, like, knew what room he was going to be in, because I guess he told that to his friend because he overheard it. So it's like, so she goes in the room and sees the husband, like, banging. They're not banging, but they're kind of like, obviously, they were just either just going to bang, they were just going to bang.
No, they had been.
Or they had been.
They had been, yeah. Do you want me to freshen that drink up?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, obviously, she flips out. She kicks his stupid ass out of the house. And, and she's just like, yeah, get the fuck out. And so then Gary Busey is like, I mean, he obviously did that on purpose. And I'm not saying that wasn't on Gary Busey, okay? Because the husband shouldn't have been doing that. Gary Busey had his own, plan for using that information, which was nefarious. But I'm just saying that, the husband was doing that shit on his own. It's like Gary Busey didn't make him do that. And she probably would have found out eventually anyway. But through Gary Busey's, machinations, whatever, she found out about it. And she caught him, red-handed, red-dicked, whatever. And so, she kicks him out. The kids get all upset. And then Gary Busey, who she does not know is living in her fucking attic, basically is like, I'm going to take over this. So he starts trying to, ingratiate himself, into the family. He kind of lies and says, oh, hey, I live over on the street. You know what I mean? And he makes up, a real street. I don't know. I guess he knew, the name of the streets or something. But I don't know. They just moved there. But he's just like, yeah, I just live a couple blocks away or whatever. And the first thing he does is that he had overheard that the son was getting bullied. Because aren't they always in these movies? And so Gary Busey is kind of pulled the other kid off in the fight, and the mom saw it and she was like, oh my god, thank you so much for helping my kid out. And then Gary Busey's like, oh, I'm gonna come over and teach your kid to fight, which kind of worked at first, but then he kind of took it too far, and she's like, bro, chill the fuck out, you know what I mean? But still, he seemed a little awkward, but not off-putting, at least at first. So he's gonna try and ingratiate himself, and her friend Rita, who gets killed by him later, spoiler alert, she sees him in the house when they just first have a little encounter or whatever, and she's like, oh well, if you don't want him, pass him on to me. And I was just like, damn, she's fucking thirsty. So yeah. And I don't know, one thing is they don't really, there's not I don't know how it wasn't really clear how much time had passed between when she kicked her stupid cheating husband out and when she decided, oh well, she didn't date him like Gary Busey, but she seemed oh, he seems okay, you know what I mean? But then as it went on, he started getting a little too needy and clingy and aggressive, and it's go to the movies with me, and she's like, nah bro, it's I'm good. And then he started getting really aggressive. Well, you have to go with me. So all this other kind of crap. So then she was like, well, now I'm really not going with you. So that didn't work out too well. But yeah, but he was essentially trying to replace the husband. Another thing I kind of wondered was, I thought they established that the husband, what the fuck was his character's name? I don't even remember.
I forgot. That was that dude I reckon.
Phil.
Yeah, I recognize that actor, man. He was in a lot of shit.
Like I said, he was in Spinal Tap.
Yeah.
This is Spinal Tap. But he's been in a bunch of stuff. But yeah, Phil, that was his name. And so the thing about it, so I thought it was established that he was the one that made all the money, doing his big corporate bullshitty job, whatever it was. They always have that, I got to do those reports and whatever. Well, you don't know what they really do with the briefcase and all. So he was saying, they got in this big argument one night about him, I'm the one paying for this house, and she didn't have a job. She took care of the kids, she took the kids to school, she did pottery.
Yeah.
But I'm assuming that she wasn't making any money. So after she kicked him out the house, I'm is he still paying for it?
It's California, of course.
He was staying in a hotel.
Yeah, it's California. California state law, man.
Well, he's
got to pay for all that shit.
Well, I mean, he did buy. I mean, his name is still on the lease, and they're not divorced.
It's got the worst divorce laws or the hardest.
Well, they're not divorced though.
if he does divorce her, though, well, he has to pay either way.
Yeah.
Okay, he has to pay if they're not divorced. They get divorced. He has to pay for that whole fucking house.
It is his fault though, because he's the one that.
Yeah, in that state, had she come out and she had proof that was actually happening,
she should have taken pictures.
She
could have taken him to the cleaners.
That's what private investigators are for.
Well, yeah, that's what I would have done.
If she can prove it, then she got him by the balls, because he now has to fucking keep her in the same lifestyle that they had when they were fucking married.
Yeah.
And now he's got to find a place to live on his own.
Yeah.
And now he can't get another woman. But she can get another man. That dude will be living up in his shit.
Well, like I said,
don't get married in California.
He shouldn't have done it. Or don't get married and then fuck around and have your wife find out about it.
Yeah. If you're in California, well, you don't even have to fuck around. They got ways to get it where you didn't do anything and she could take your shit.
But
don't get married in California. That particular state is not one where you need to be marrying these hoes. Don't fucking marry none of them. They'll fucking take everything.
She wasn't a hoe though. She didn't.
That was just the movies. We're gonna talk about the real. That was just the movies. In real life,
we're talking about the movies.
Never marry a woman in California. Florida, fucking, the laws are a lot more, fucking reasonable. A lot more reasonable. She can't clean you out for no reason.
Well, like I said, in the movie, there was kind of a reason. Well, yeah. And then it was kind of a moot point anyway, because she does take his stupid ass back at the end.
Yeah.
Which is what really kind of sets Gary Busey off, because he's kind of thinking, well, so she wasn't going to date him anyway, because at first she was just kind of like, oh, he's all right, you know what I mean? And she thought he was a neighbor.
Yeah.
But, like, he lived a few blocks away. And she's like, oh, come over for a barbecue and blah-de-blah. Like, and he seemed nice, and he seemed to like the kids, and he seemed kind of normal, mostly. But then, like, she started seeing, like, some red flags, you know what I mean? Like, when he was, teaching the kid to, like, defend himself, which, like I said, at first, I was kind of like, oh, okay, that's reasonable. But then he took it way too far, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then she was just like, yeah, no, you need to leave. And then, so she was kind of starting to get more wary of him, because she kind of saw that other side of him, you know what I mean? And then, like, without her knowing, he killed her best friend in the house. So there was that, and buried him in the bed. And then, like, she found the dog later, like, when they were out gardening, and she called the cops and was like, hey, some weirdo, like, fucking killed our dog and, like, buried in the garden. Like, and they didn't, like, give a shit about it. But, so, I mean, and he was delusional enough, Gary Busey's character was delusional enough to think that he was actually going to be able to replace the husband, and he was going to take care of her and take care of the family and stuff like that. But then she decided to take the husband back. He was just like, I'm so sorry, blah, 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 I love you, blah, 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 all this other kind of crap. And, like, she fell for it. And so, like, she took him back, and then Gary Busey is like, okay, well, this isn't gonna fucking fly. Like, he was just, and then he just started going, like, fucking psycho. And then, like, after that, she actually eventually found out that he'd been living up in the attic. Like, prior to this, she didn't know that. Now, interestingly, as I mentioned before, the original screenplay of this, I forgot to mention, you know who wrote this movie was Lem Dobbs, and that was the same guy that wrote Dark City.
Okay.
And also wrote The Limey, which is a great fucking movie. Okay. You probably need to see that.
Well, we were talking about
and Kafka, which is also a great movie.
We were watching the movie, and I said, the writing here is pretty good.
Yeah, like he's written a lot of good shit.
She's like, I'll figure out, I'll look into who wrote it.
The director, whose name is Matthew Patrick, this was actually his first full-length movie. He made a bunch of shorts, but he didn't really do much after this. Like, he, had some writing credits, he had some producing credits and stuff like that, but he didn't really direct that many more movies after this.
I don't know if Jen's going to get into it later, but this particular movie got a spotty release.
Yeah, it
didn't get a release it should have got.
No, it absolutely didn't.
But it got good reviews. It got, everybody thought it was excellent. All, from what I read, the critics liked it, and it got real good reviews. It's a good movie. Yeah,
what ended up happening was that this was produced by Vestron, and when it was done, like, it was supposed to have a limited theatrical release in the U.S. It was supposed to be it was supposed to open on 1,200 screens. And when it was due to open, Vestron was in like terrible financial trouble. And so it ended up not having a theatrical release in the US at all. However, it was like contractually obligated to have a theatrical release in Europe and in the UK. So it did have a very, very short release over there. I think it only played for a week or something like that. Like, it played in a few theaters, and it did actually get really good reviews, like the few people that saw it. But after that, it kind of fell into obscurity a little bit. It did come out on VHS, like, later on, but it was supposed to get a theatrical release, and it just...
Didn't get it?
Didn't really get it. Like I said, I thought that it had got a limited release in the US, but it didn't. It was supposed to, but it didn't.
At first, Jen thought it was made for TV, possibly.
Yeah, I had thought that I'd heard that it was made for TV.
Yeah, I checked real quick, and no, it was made for release, but it didn't get it. So it could have been that may have had a television release later.
Yeah, I think it played on like cable and stuff.
So people thought that it was... So... The movie was hobbled from day one in the market.
Which is a shame.
Yeah, it's a good movie.
Because it actually, like, really... And I think, like I said...
I had never heard of it.
This might be... I had heard of it, but only... Because I kind of peruse a lot of sites about, like, underrated 70s and 80s horror. Because I'm always looking for stuff that I haven't seen. You know what I mean? Because I've seen, like, pretty much everything. Like, especially from that era. So I'm always looking for stuff that I might have missed. And so this is one that kept coming up all the time, and for whatever reason, I guess because I was associating it with Bad Ronald, which is kind of a similar-ish premise about somebody living in the walls, and somebody not knowing they're back there, and that was a made-for-TV movie. So maybe I associated this being a TV movie too, but it wasn't. This actually was supposed to get a theatrical release, and it just never did. It did in Europe and the UK for a little while, but it didn't really do much of anything, which is kind of a shame. And look, there's really not a lot of information about how much money it made or anything. I can't imagine that it made all that much. But I think it kind of, as it started showing on cable later on, like, you know, in the 90s and stuff like that, I think it started getting, like, a cult following. And especially, like, later on as Gary Busey became, like...
Yeah.
Gary Busey. Like, you know what I mean?
Say what you will, man.
He's great in this.
Yeah,
he's really good.
Gary, Jake and Gary delivered a lot of good fucking material. They were in a lot of good movies, even though they may have been B movies. Like Jake, man, he was fucking great in fucking Starship Troopers. Fucking,
The Frighteners.
The Frighteners.
I loved him in The Frighteners.
And he was in one of my most favorite B movies, Nazis at the Center of the Earth.
God, I love
He's
that
fucking
movie.
great in that too.
That's such a good movie.
So, fucking Gary and Jake could deliver. You know, and they could deliver a lot of good entertainment. They were good. A lot of people don't know that fucking Gary also has a daughter. She's fucking smoking. She looks great.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody knows about Jake Busey because he's
Yeah.
kind of an actor in his own right. But he has a daughter, too. What is her name?
Her name
Started with
was-
an A, right? It was kind of unusual.
Yeah, I forgot what it was.
She's a photographer.
She's a photographer and kind of gothed out. Club
Yeah,
chick.
she's like a goth girl.
Yeah.
Beautiful. She's beautiful.
You guys can look her
Thankfully,
up.
she didn't get Gary Busey's looks.
Gary looked good, man, when he was in good
not
shape.
on a girl. I don't think that would look
he
good
doesn't
like
quite
it.
have, Gary, in this movie, Gary looks good. He looks about like Jake.
He does, yeah.
Yeah.
He's still pretty young in this.
What-
and like
what
I said,
guy-
this was before he got all fucked up in this.
Yeah,
movie.
what happened fucking Gary is Gary fucking drank a lot and did a lot of fucking couch surfing towards, you know what I mean? Towards, I don't know what he's doing now, but, you know, fucking, he got to where he didn't get much work.
Yeah.
And, he got crazier and crazier, but Gary did some fucking great shit, man. He was in Soldier, one of my favorite movies.
He's a
that was like
national
Space
treasure, I
Rambo.
think.
Kurt Russell. Yeah. And he played a great fucking character in that. Fucking Gary's a really good character actor.
He is, yeah.
So's Jake. But in this one, Gary's he carries this movie. This is a big role for him. And he's
I
good.
kind of feel like if he wasn't in this, it would just be like it's still a good movie, but I think it would just be like kind of serviceable. I think him
makes the
being
movie.
in it,
He
kind
carries
of
the movie.
elevates it.
He carries
to be
the movie.
honest.
Yeah, it's good.
Like all the acting in it is good. I'm not saying
Yeah.
that, but like Psycho Man says Gary Busey was great in Silver Bullet. I love Silver Bullet.
Like I said, you know, he's
totally
delivers,
wacko in that.
He delivers really good entertainment. He's great in Silver Bullet.
Yeah,
He's in
and
a lot
this
of
is
good
like
shit.
super entertaining. I think.
And he fucking He was in one of my favorite fucking Steven Seagal movies, man. Fucking Under Siege. And he plays a fucking maniac in that. Fucking Gary could deliver. All right? And he could chew up the scenery, too.
Yeah.
If he had to.
Like I said, he doesn't in this one, though.
No.
Which, in a way, I think makes it kind of better. Because you're almost kind of... Like, he kind of flips out at the end. Like, and he's scary and everything. But it's just kind of like... For most of the movie, you're kind of like... You feel kind of bad for him.
Yeah.
Because it's like he doesn't really know how to act. Yeah. And, like... I mean, I couldn't feel too bad after he killed the dog. Because, like, come on. You didn't have to do that. But... I don't know. It was just kind of a thing where he seemed to feel so bad afterward that it's like you almost... And he'd been so, like, fucked up as a kid, and I was like, I felt kind of bad. Yeah. So, like I said, the original story, he was... And in the original script, too, like, not only was he more sympathetic, but the ending was different. Like, in the original script, he was actually supposed to redeem himself at the end. Like, at the end, he was supposed to, like, set the house on fire with the family in it, just like he'd done to his parents. But then at the last minute... Like, he sees them in there freaking out, and he realizes, oh my god, I've turned into my fucking... I've turned into a monster. And he rescues them, and then goes back in the house and, like, burns to death. But... So they were kind of thinking about that. And then the producers were like, nah, we kind of want, like, more a Fatal Attraction kind of ending. Where it's just, like, he's evil and there's nothing we can do about it. So they made it so, like, at the end, he just tries to murder the family, and then he ends up... getting shot pretty much by the cops. Well, maybe Rogers shoots him a couple times, and then but he of course like jumps back like just like a horror movie villain, and then the cops shoot him like at the end. But yeah, so he gets killed at the end, like still being evil, but he was supposed to like redeem himself in the original version. But I don't know. I don't know. Would it have been better had he redeemed himself? I don't know. I think it's better like that they just like left him a villain. You know?
I don't know if you could redeem yourself
after that.
After killing the woman, and after well, he killed the dude too. He killed the exterminator. No. He was in a way. I think the role was supposed to be. He was kind of like a tragic character. Yeah. Okay.
Because I mean, he was
kind of like how Frankenstein was a tragic character.
Yeah.
It wasn't really his fault that he was the way he was. But no, he killed people.
Yeah.
And he knew it was wrong, but he's trying to fucking...
And he'd apologize afterward, but it's kind of too late then, isn't it? After you've broken someone's neck. You're just kind of like, oops.
Yeah.
Sorry I killed you.
Yeah.
If I could take it back, it's kind of
No, he was... Unfortunately, he's a villain in this.
Yeah.
He's a sympathetic villain, though.
He's still sympathetic, but I think, like, in the original version, he was supposed to be more sympathetic, and it was supposed to, like I said, like, redeem himself at the end, but he doesn't, actually.
It was kind of like Robin Williams' character in 24-Hour Photo.
1 hour.
1 hour photo, I mean, 24-hour photo. I'm fucking loaded.
He was a nice guy.
He was a nice guy. He meant well, but he was very needy. He was fucking over other people's lives.
Yeah.
Going through all their fucking shit.
Right.
He was a voyeur. Basically,
that's what I mean, and it's just kind of like you can sympathize with with a character like that because he had been so abused and so messed up and everything like that. But there comes a point where you can't really forgive it anymore.
You were detrimental to other people,
right? Because you're fucking over other people. Like whether you're well-meaning or not, that doesn't really matter. Like intention isn't magic. You know,
a parasite is still a parasite.
Exactly. Like whether he feels bad about it or not, that's kind of immaterial.
Right.
Can we talk a little bit about the neighbor, Gene?
Yeah, actually.
Who is played by...
Interesting character.
I don't know if you know this. That is Crispin Glover's dad.
Oh, it is? All right.
Bruce Glover.
Okay.
And they look just alike. So, That dude... Okay. So, you know what? Like, that dude was so fucking creepy and, like, boundary pushing, like, the whole entire time that I said... You know what? If I was I don't know if I would do this, but if I was writing this movie, like at the very end, when Gary Busey was flipping out and like trying to kill the parents, and like the kids like freaked out and like ran out the house and like ran to the neighbor Gene's house, and was like get him to call the police. I said, how funny would it be? Like, this is the sense of humor that I have. How funny would it be if the kids went over to Gene's house to have him call the police because their parents were getting murdered, and Gene turned out to be a PDF file?
Yeah.
Well, because they kind of set it up.
Yeah.
Didn't he have that weird line, like, because, you know, Mimi Rogers is trying to take the kids to school one morning, and the dude is just, like, all up in her shit, like, just by the car, and it's like, hey, how are you, blah, blah, blah. You know, it's like Crispin Glover, but, like, older and, like, even creepier. And so she's like, yeah, I gotta take the kids to school, and, like, this little girl is, like, 5 or 6, and it's like, oh, I wish I was still back in kindergarten, especially if you were there. And I was like, stranger danger, you know what I mean? It was just kind of like that. So, and, like, he came to the house later and was kind of, like, putting his hand on Mimi Rogers' ass, kind of, well, like, her lower back, at least, kind of going toward the ass. Yeah. And I was just kind of like, okay, so this dude's a creeper, too.
Tom went there and knocked that shit off.
Yeah, and he's just like, pap, and I was just kind of like, okay, well, that's fine. You can do that. But it's like, so, but then the thing about it is that, I don't know how I feel about Creepy Gene being, he wasn't a hero at the end, but he did, like, call the cops, and the cops came and shot the bad guy, shot Gary Busey.
He wasn't a hero, really.
No. But it's like...
He just did what other people would do.
He just did what other people would do. He didn't, like... But he might have molested kids. We don't know.
Yeah.
Like, while they were in there. Tell you what, I'll call the cops if... Yeah. You know what I mean? It might have been, like, that kind of situation. But, yeah, like, that was... I'm not really sure. I like that his character was in there, but it's like, I wonder, too, if they were, like, setting it up as some kind of... I guess they were, like, just setting him up as, like, kind of an antagonist, because he was clearly after Mimi Rogers also.
Yeah, he was trying to get a date.
Like, he's trying to get, like... Yeah. And in the creepiest way possible.
Yeah,
so it's just like, this poor woman is just surrounded by 3 dudes who are just all complete fuckheads.
Yeah.
And she's just like, what the fuck have I done in my life to, like, to deserve this? Yeah. It's like the neighbor is a fucking creeper. I have, like, some creeper living up in my attic. My husband's fucking around on me. Yeah. It's just like, please. She just probably wants to turn lesbian at this point. And I would not blame her, to be honest. But yeah, so...
You need to get you a girlfriend.
I have a girlfriend.
Yeah, which one? Oh,
she's made of...
She's out there in the... Yeah, she's out there in the bed. Fucking fun.
Tom put her in the bed earlier, he said.
Yeah.
He got some outfits for her today.
Yeah.
Well, he got some outfits for me, too.
Yeah.
I haven't tried them on yet.
That was a Temu order or Shein, I don't remember. I think it might be Shein. She was Shein.
Yeah.
Got a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
There was nothing for me in it, though.
Oh, you didn't get anything?
No, I didn't get anything.
They don't have a lot of good stuff for
Not
dudes.
at Shein, and they have very little at Temu.
They don't have a lot of good stuff for dudes. Well, I mean, I've kind of found that generally, like, men's clothes, it's better than it used to be, but men's clothes are just generally not that interesting.
Boring shit, man.
It's like, yeah, a lot of it's just, like, kind of boring.
Best men's stuff is some kind of gear. Motorcycle gear, motorcycle boots, fucking, fucking New Rocks. Motorcycle pants. Something that looks like it's something that's functional.
Yeah.
Something that looks like something that works. That's the best looking shit.
But they have all kind of crazy, like, cool shit, like, on there for women, like all kind of crazy wigs and clothes and crazy fucking nails and all kind of accessories and whatnot. But yeah, not all that stuff for dudes though.
I got that chicken down there waiting.
Oh, you got chicken? Yeah, I'm starving.
All
right. So I guess we're gonna wrap it up. So we talked about everything about this. Let me go through my notes again. Yeah, I think we mentioned, like, everything about that. Oh, another thing I wanted to mention, too, was that there was apparently a psychiatrist that was a consultant on this movie, like, to make sure that it was fairly accurate, you know what I mean? Yeah. And so Gary Busey, like, talked to this psychiatrist, and he was very excited about this role because he said this is a role, what did he call it? He called it, like, a fucking, an NAR role. No acting required.
Okay, yeah.
Because this was... him.
It was just
and
him.
I was just like, should we be worried about that? Or...
No, I know what he's talking about.
No, I know what he's talking about. But I just thought that was funny.
Had this movie gotten a full release, I think this would have boosted Busey's fucking career up a lot. I think he would have gotten even better roles and maybe more of them.
Yeah, I mean, this might be the best acting performance I've seen from him.
And he still got good shit after this. It's just there's more like character roles. In this one, he's a lead. So,
yeah, I mean, he's pretty much the main character.
Right. And the only thing other I would say that where he's kind of a lead, he might be not really a lead. He's kind of like a lead in Silver Bullet. Maybe. The little boy's the lead.
Oh, like,
but
you know.
He's a supporting
Corey
character.
Haim is kind of like the
he's a supporting character.
Kid. Phantom says, excellent review, Jenny and Tom, too. Way up. Also, Tom, 10 to Midnight is the Bronson movie. That's his best, just saying.
That's on the list.
We'll probably do that one next because I've been wanting to rewatch that. I really like that movie.
I forgot which one that one was. Which one was
I think you will like it.
Okay.
That's one we actually don't have to pay for. We had to pay for this one, but I don't think we have to pay for 10 to Midnight. Right. That might be free on Amazon.
Yeah, Velvet Goldmine, I liked it when I saw it.
I might have that. I felt like I have that somewhere. But, you know what I mean? I thought I had it, like, at least on DVD.
They're kind of spoofing. They can't come out and fucking say who it is, you know what I mean?
This is totally not David Bowie or Iggy Pop.
And fucking
but it kind of
Sid Barrett, you know, but, yeah.
Well, I like that they kind of did that, but then they, like, wrote original songs that kind of sounded like
and they're
and stuff.
And it's not probably how it happened. They're
well, no. Well, like I said,
liberties.
It's like a historical fantasy. Yeah. They're just kind of taking some shit that really happened and kind of like having fun.
Make it even fucking more exciting.
Yeah, that's all. But yeah, so yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this review of Hider in the House. Like I said, it's on Amazon Prime. I think it's It was either $3.99 or it might have been $4.29.
It's worth watching.
But it's definitely worth watching if you like Gary Busey, if you like 80s, 90s thrillers. It's one of the better ones that I've seen. Like, it's nothing, like, super original or anything like that, but it's, like, really, really good.
For its day.
Yeah, like, all the acting was, like, really, really good. So, Wednesday night, hopefully you guys can all join. It's going to be a fun show for a change after the depressing ones we've done the last few weeks. We're actually going to do the history of punk rock, which I've been wanting to do for, like, a long time.
That's going to be a fun.
And that won the poll, like, overwhelmingly, so I was like, woohoo, I said, that's going to be, like, really fun. We'll get, like, real drunk and, like, talk about
I know a lot of this just
punk rock music
by heart.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. Like, I know a lot of this just because I was there, like, when a lot of it happened.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about that on Wednesday, so hopefully you guys can join us for that. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out with us this evening. Thank you for your super chats. We will see you again on Wednesday night.